Welcome. And we'll start off with a bracha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. And
Amen.
we'll go into a screen share. Thank you. So we are in the heart of Kedoshim here, where we are talking about what I think we could call justifiably social welfare legislation, and just general fundamental principles of behavior, of human behavior and human society. This is sometimes seen in the tradition. Excuse me if this is jumping around a little bit. I may have to stop the share and start it again. It's doing funny things. Sometimes it's referred to as another version of the Ten Commandments. Hold on a second. So I'm having some issues here with the application. Yeah, this is doing strange things, but I think this will work. Hopefully it will. The electronics are doing interesting things. Here we go. I'm going to try sharing again. And this is where we left off yesterday, right? We didn't get to do, actually we did do a little bit of this, but anyway. Lo ta'ashok et re'acha. You shall not wrong your re'ah. Sometimes re'ah is translated as friend. The Lo tigzol, and you shall not steal. You shall not rob or steal. As you can see from my notes here, the ta'ashok, wrong, is more specifically understood sometimes as withholding what is due. The word re'ah actually is used in the wedding service, where it talks about the couple as being re'im ahuvim, loving friends. And I've always felt that that was a beautiful, beautiful expression of an ideal relationship, loving friends. So again, one other comment is that it could be understood as meaning, well, don't wrong your friend, but if he's not your friend, if she's not your friend, then it's okay. I don't think the Torah is supposed to be understood that way. This is one of those examples where if you want to understand the Torah in a negative, unethical kind of way, the wording is there for you if you want to. And it's as if I feel that these moments are when the Torah is testing our hearts. And I would.
What verse are you doing?
13.
I thought we were on like 16.
Okay, okay, thank you. Then I'm going to go there and for that bookmark. Thank you. But let me finish on this and then we'll move there. It did look familiar, but I had my bookmark and that's why I thought it was this one. So my feeling is that the Torah is actually implying that if you treat people like this, they may actually become or have a friendly relationship towards you, and that's why it's using it. And thank you, Lauren. I'm going to see where my next bookmark is, and there it is. I'm assuming you can see it. All right, there we go. There we go. Thank you. Have to thank my short-term memory for this kind of stuff. Lo telech rachil ba'amecha. You shall not go rachil. So the word rachil is an interesting word. The context suggests that it means a talebearer. In other words, a gossip. And in fact, rechilut is the noun in Hebrew that describes gossip. You should not go as a gossip amongst your people. Interesting halacha. It comes from a word that also refers to a merchant, but a kind of itinerant merchant. In other words, someone who goes around selling merchant from one place to another, and because that's associated with that particular behavior. In other words, the idea of going around and possibly meaning selling information. In other words, you ask yourself, perhaps we could ask ourselves, why is it that we like to gossip? Why is gossip something that is a temptation? And I love the line, from, I'm trying to think of the name of the movie, Steel Magnolias, where the one person says, well, if you have nothing good to say about so-and-so, come and sit next to me. So the question, of course, is what do we get? Is there something we gain when we gossip? Does it make us feel better about ourselves? I'm not sure. It's something I think I need to meditate on as to, why people would want to gossip. It
Well,
goes,
I think it's bonding with the person because, and I'm saying that because I sometimes engage in that, and that's kind of at least part of my conscious motivation. And I know it's wrong, but my need to bond is stronger than my will not to gossip. Not intentionally. It's just, it's an emotional thing, not a rational thing.
right.
My intellectual philosophy and my emotional side don't always match up. But bonding is
yes,
for sure part of some of the motivation. There's probably a lot more to it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you're trying to analyze it. And I think it's something we all have to deal with. I don't, I certainly wouldn't hold you up as a gossip by any means. And there are people who seem to enjoy doing it more than others. And again, it would be interesting to know psychologically beyond just bonding, because there are so many other ways to bond that don't have negative consequences, or, try to show one is better than someone else in some ways, or just sharing information that's none of our business kind of thing. I'm going to go on. Lo ta'amud al dam re'echa. You shall not stand by the blood of your neighbor. That's what it means. And again, this is saying, as we would understand it, right, that we shouldn't separate ourselves from when our friend, our associate is being attacked. I had, this is something that I feel that I've fallen down on at times. And not because they've been attacked physically, but certainly verbally. I've seen people getting verbally attacked, and I've been so shocked. And this is not an excuse, it's an explanation, but I always feel bad afterwards. I just recently had an experience in a supermarket where there was a woman who cut the line and came back, and apparently the person who was at the cash register did not want to help them and didn't want to allow her to cut the line, and she came back and verbally abused the cashier. And I was silent. I didn't know what to say, and I feel terrible that I wasn't able to react to that. And of course, I think you sort of have to prepare yourself mentally as to how you want to react when you see someone else, getting verbally abused. But that's I can actually think distinctly of various times when that's happened. There was one time I wasn't present. I only heard that this person had basically been sold under the bus and but I knew the person who had done it, and I did actually speak to that person calmly. These become very emotionally tough moments. I suspect that we've all had these kinds of things, but be nice to feel that one could uphold this particular commandment. And then it ends Ani Adonai. And we've learned from before that when a commandment ends with Ani Adonai, it refers to the idea that God ultimately is the true judge, and that God can judge motivations, behaviors, etc., etc. It's like a seal on the halacha. So there's quite a lot that Rashi has to say here, and we'll get as far as we can. Lo telech rachil, you shall not go as a talebearer. Ani omer, this is Rashi speaking, at least quoting tradition, right? Rashi basically does that, and it's as if God is speaking. This is like paraphrasing God's statement. Let me see. Unless this could be Rashi himself saying it. All right. Sometimes he says it in a paraphrase. Here he's saying it personally, I believe we have to go through this. And in this sense, we are really studying together. And even though I've prepared it, I have to go over it and over it and over it in order to internalize it. So let's assume this is Rashi sharing. Al Shem Shekol Mishalchei Madanim. He says, because anyone who sows discord, umisapre lashon hara, and who speak in, evilly of someone else, badmouth someone else. So lashon, bad mouthing, of course, can be true. You can be saying things that are negative, but they're true, as opposed to slander, where you're making stuff up, where it's false stuff. But lashon hara covers even just saying bad stuff about someone else, just bad mouthing them. Holchin bevate re'ehem, they go into the homes of their friends, leragel ma yiru ra o ma yishma'u ra. Leragel means essentially to spy out. In other words, you're getting into stuff that's none of your business. So they go into the homes of their friends, the associates, to spy out what they see. In other words, what's cooking in your neighbor's pot. Ra, if they can see something that they're doing that's bad, or ma yishma'u ra, or what they might hear that's bad, the saper bashuk, and then to broadcast it. The saper bashuk literally means to tell in the marketplace. But so this is the idea of going around, right? And looking, sniffing out this kind of stuff. Nikraim holchei rachil. These are the people who are referred to as holech rachil, those who go and to gossip. Holchei regila, they go to spy out, leragel here. And of course, you're familiar with the word regel, which means foot, and the idea of that what you're doing is you're going out of your own boundaries into somebody else's boundaries. And here is a word in French. So it looks like it's related to spying, right? Lauren, I know you have a version maybe in English that spells out the word.
Well, yeah, it says espionage,
Right, espionage, right?
ESPIEMENT, espionage.
So that would be the noun, right? And then the Yiddish here, spionerei. Ois sperrei, to go and spy out. Balaz in other words, in a foreign language is what that stands for. The Ra'aya, so it's definitely Rashi giving his own opinion. He does this very seldom, but he does do it from time to time, and he's doing it right here. But he says, V'ra'aya lidvarai, and the proof of what I'm saying, shelo matzinu rechilut, because we have never found rechilut, she'ein katuv b'lashon halicha, that this term rechilut, to gossip here, is always written in Hebrew. Of course, it's put negatively as a double negative, but we'd say in English that you never, here it says negatively, positively, you only find the term rechilut written in the context of halicha, halach, to go, going around. Lo telech rachil. So again, he's really deconstructing this particular phrase. Holchei rachil, nechoshet ubarzel. Okay, so he's now giving examples of what he's saying. So there's the word. He says rachil and halach, right? Those who go and in this case trade in nechoshet ubarzel. So that would be iron and copper, or rather copper and iron, or bronze and iron, and that's from Jeremiah. Usha'ar loshon hara ein katuv bo halicha, but he says other kinds of bad mouthing are not written in connection in the context of going. And he gives an example from Tehillim, it's the book of Psalms, Psalm 101. Milishne beseter re'ehu, those who speak evilly in secret about their neighbors. Again, this re'ah, your associate. So this is lahalshin means to lashon from the word tongue, but again it means to use your tongue in an evil kind of way. And then again in Psalm 120, lashon remiyah, right? A tongue of falsehood. A ramai is a cheat, right? A cheat. And then again in Psalm 12, lashon medaberet gedolot, a tongue that speaks arrogantly, something like that. Lachach ani omer, and for this reason, again, he's speaking quite personally here at length. For this reason, I say, shehalashon holech umeragel, okay, that the tongue goes and, well, meragel means to spy out, right? Shehakaf, and he says the letter kaf, nifelet begimel. He says, if you think about it, when you say a k sound, it also comes in, it's like a gimel. It's the same part of your mouth as when you say the letter gimel, when you use the letter gimel. So meragel and merachel, right? That these two words are very similar in Hebrew. And in fact, Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch has a whole theory of Hebrew interpretation and Hebrew translation that is based on these kinds of words, where they have letters that can be interchangeable, but they come from the same part of your mouth in the pronunciation of them. So Rashi's actually doing it, okay? The nun belamed. So again, a nun and a lamed, look at where your tongue is when you say a n, and when you say Allah, your tongue is basically in the same part of your mouth. So these words, these letters can interchange in Hebrew words and be related to one another. And Zayin betzadi, so a z and a ts, again, same basic way to pronounce the letter. V'chein, and he says, and so, and this is Shmuel Bet, this is the second book of Samuel, chapter 19, Vayiragel ba'avdacha, right? So again, a gossip, right, or spy out in your servant, regel be'mirma, okay, a false, looking into, spying out, lay more alai, to say about me, ra'ah, wickedness, evil. V'chein, and likewise in the book of Psalms, chapter 15, lo ragel al leshono. This is describing a person who is considered worthy of dwelling in God's house. And one of the qualities is lo ragal al leshono. There is no gossip on his tongue. V'chein rochel, and likewise, rochel, a trader, a itinerant merchant, a socher, this is a merchant, right? So he's talking about a person who's in legitimate business here, simply doing legitimate business, but the word rochel because he's going out. Umeragel acher kol schora, right? And again, there's the word meragel. Achar, I think here the word is achar kol schora, regarding any kind of trade. V'chol hamokher b'samim, and anyone who sells spices or perfumes, right? Lehit kashet bahem hanashim, for women to adorn themselves with. Al shem shemechazer tamid, and the reason he's called a rochel, such a merchant, is called a rochel. And I think when he's talking about that I'm looking to see regarding this trade he's in, that this particular trade, like one who sells perfumes or trinkets or things like that, shemechazer tamid ba'ayarot, he is going around always in the villages. Nikra rochel, he is called, such a person, an itinerant merchant of these kinds of products is called a rochel, lashon rogel. And again, it's the same relationship to word rogel, the targumo. And if we look at the Aramaic translation, it says lo tehul kurtzin. So again, forgive me, Lauren, I'm going to have to rely on you if you have the translation there. I did not get this.
Yeah, it says, you shall not eat the food of winking, a figurative expression for slander. And by the way, it's 10:07.
Okay, we'll stop. Okay, thank you. Very interesting. I'm going to put this in and stop. So lekaretz ayin is to wink. Very good. Thank you. And we actually go into this because it's next week's Parsha is also Kodoshim. So we'll be able to do it then. I'm going to stop the recording and wish everyone a Shabbat Shalom.